Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 184 of the All You Can Hear podcast. My name is Jonathan, and today with me are my three monstrous co-hosts.
It's Pound Cake Pat.
Oh.
Trash Panda Cole. That's the raccoon.
Whirly Wenzel.
All right, and today is the fourth Patcast, where Pat sits down, tells us one of his special interests, and we sit here and listen to his TED Talk.
So, yes, like last year on my anniversary, we did a introspection, a little deep dive into tokusatsu, Japanese superhero live-action television shows.
So what's the subject of today's episode?
Today's episode, for the fourth Patcast, we talk about another one of my favorite things, and that's drag queens, baby.
Hell yes.
Woo! And today, like we did before, we're going to go just a brief overview of drag queen, just in case, just to clarify a few things people didn't know about drag queens for folks on the show or listeners at home, and just so everyone's aware, this is not meant to be a comprehensive sort of overview or like the history of drag. This is sort of just basic tenets of drag, and just sort of like a few sort of bullet points we can to better understand what drag is, so we can get into sort of the finer things of it, and sort of like more specific sort of content and queens and later in the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So drag at its most basic and its most common conception is a cisgendered gay man masquerading as a very exaggerated interpretation of a woman. And so everybody's at least seen or has some sort of basic concept of what a drag queen is. You know, a man in a very flashy, avant-garde, tawdry outfit with makeup.
Yeah, most everybody should be at least know what like RuPaul's Drag Race is.
Yeah.
Things like that. And some queens are paid entertainers where like doing drag is like their show, is what they do, is what they get paid to do. Some pursue it as an art form, and it's a bit more between the two, between a hobby and like just a personal pursuit. And some it's just for their own personal entertainment or entertainment of others, and a more less restricted hobbyist point of view. Now, drag is an art form, and as such, it's very broad, and there's very different interpretations of it, many different forms of it, but it's generally considered that there's three very broad styles of drag. And the first of the three are camp queen, which this is the most like common version of basically the most like exaggerated performance of like womanhood.
Yeah, probably what most everyone's common conception of what a drag queen is.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, you know, basically like big hair, big lips, big makeup, dress, like very like flashy, like fake breasts, things like that. Not always, but that's basically what a camp queen is. And the second type of drag is fishy queens, and these are the more subtle and subdued makeup. Basically, these are performers who are more actively able to pass as a cisgendered woman. So they're very subdued and very realistic in their portrayal. As for the fishy part of what fishy queen means, you should probably figure that out on your own. I'm not going to say it here.
Yeah.
But it should be fairly obvious.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I heard that term today, and I was like, what is this? I don't know what that means. Now I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and lastly, the third general variety of drag is genderfuck, which is basically eschewing like basic gender sort of awareness. Basically, they're combining male and female into a single character or performance. So like you'll have like maybe like makeup and dresses and breasts, but they'll have like facial hair, like beards and mustaches, or like body hair, bald heads, or more even androgyny. Basically, it's just saying fuck gender and just sort of making their own version of it. Like I said, these are three very broad camps styles of drag queens. So they're very fluid. but that's basically, you can lump a lot of drag queen performances into those three categories. And also, we did want to get into other sort of forms of drag, like there's drag kings, which are typically lesbian women who perform the same sort of level of exaggerated gender performances, but as men. So basically, have like they may bind their breasts or wear like fake pecs, like a breastplate, like wear padding, muscle suits, or draw on or glue on facial hair, and just perform these like hyper masculine characters. And the last thing to really discuss about drag queens is sort of the clear distinction between drag queens and transgenders, because drag queen and transgender are two separate things.
Yes.
Two very separate things. Because doing drag, whether it's a king or queen, male or female, it is a performance.
Yeah, like I've heard it described, it's like that, like at the end of the day that will come off.
Exactly.
But with like transgender, they are trying to live out as the gender they most identify with.
Yeah, because like a trans whether a man or woman, that is that person's valid identity.
Exactly.
And that at the end of the day, that will persist after a show's over.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a difference. And another big thing is because we're in this world now where people have a much better understanding of like gender and sexuality and gender performance, it's like drag is evolving, and how people are performing drag is evolving as well, because we understand now that gender is a concept and it's not tied to a person's biology.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and even the biology is not binary either. So
Exactly. So, like, literally, drag is for everyone. It's the basic conceit. Whether it's cisgendered men, gay men, lesbian women, cisgendered male, female, just whatever.
Straight men, straight women,
trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, whatever your identity or your sex, your gender, it doesn't matter. Drag performance is for everyone. Everyone should be allowed to participate in it and allowed to interpret it as they are as an individual. So,
Yep.
Yeehaw.
And if you think otherwise, fuck you.
exactly.
I agree with that. Yeah.
so that's sort of my like really basic overview of drag. Just sort of to touch on a few things before we get into like some of the more specific points, like basically around like shows and my favorite queens. So how I got into the drag fandom is that it started about, I would say, 2017, and I started with where a lot of people did, with RuPaul's Drag Race, where RuPaul is one of, if not the most famous drag queens in the world. They've had a career that's lasted decades in shows, movies, and with Drag Race is where they have several amateur or even professional drag queens compete through various challenges to like show who's the best at their craft. And this show's been going on for over 10 years. And
Yeah.
I caught I started with season 3 on Hulu, back when it was still streaming on Hulu, because like Drag Race has had a very varied home, because it feels like it never stays in one channel or streaming place for very long.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with it because like all the things I really enjoy in life I love hyperbole, I love exaggerated characters, I love just the pageantry, I just love over the top content. That's why I love wrestling. That's why I love comics. That's why I love tokusatsu, because like there's things in all those different forms of entertainment that are exemplified here with like the over the top characters, the larger than life visuals. So like this is very much something I was going to love sooner or later.
Yeah.
And just some of my favorite queens I've come across through Drag Race, like Latrice Royale, Kenya Michaels, Sharon Needles, Shangela, Kim Chi. These are all like very varied performers, either from like just their personalities to like their looks. Some are more camp, some are more fish, and they're all worth your time to check out. But two of my favorites that may be a little basic, but I really love Trixie Mattel and Katya. And they were two queens that came to prominence in season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And with Trixie, she is well known for her like very dry, quick wit, like with some dark humor, and her like very uncanny makeup. Because I'll send the picture in our chat, but she has this look that's inspired by Barbie dolls, and so she's known for her very trademark like eye makeup, and just very like doll like an unnatural appearance essentially.
Yeah, I remember last year on our award show for songs, Pat put a Trixie Mattel, maybe more, a few songs on there. It was the album. I think it was an album. She released a full album. Is that correct, Pat? Do you know? Or?
She has 3 studio albums, and she's she's done like more like retro pop, but like her signature sound is folk music. Because she's from the Midwest.
Yeah, no, it was. I never got a chance to listen to it, but like from the songs that Pat put on there, it was very interesting, I guess is the best way to say it, because they weren't bad, and it was just something maybe to check out.
Personally, I'm a much bigger fan of her folk music. Her 2018 album, One Stone is my favorite. That was my favorite album of last year, because it has a lot of like really like fun folk songs, but also like a lot of really good like heartfelt songs on there. Mm-hmm. And I would, if folk is a type of music you're interested in, I would really suggest it. And it's kind of hard to mention Trixie without mentioning Katya, who is also from season 7, and she's very much an interesting counterbalance to Trixie, because they have a great natural chemistry, but Katya is like a more energy, like she's a more like light energy, but also she's extremely eccentric. It's really funny how they play off each other. And Katya's her whole queen persona was based off like Soviet Russia aesthetic.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So I think John would really like her, and like, but she's definitely airing more toward fishy, and whereas Trixie's a bit more camp.
Yeah.
But they're definitely both camp for sure. And they've come to be like very popular queens in the last few years since their season. Like they have several YouTube shows like it's where they just like talk and riff about things in pop culture and just sort of life energy. They have Queens You Like to Watch, which is a Netflix produced show where they riff and talk about shows that's streaming on Netflix. And they recently started a podcast, The Bald and the Beautiful, where it's just them in an audio format.
Yeah. I'd like to go back on what I said earlier. I messed up. In 2019, the song Pat put on our awards song like voting area list or whatever was Yellow Cloud, and it was like I think it was like pop rock or something, and
it was like a 1960s kind of like Beach Boys kind of pop sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and like it wasn't bad, but it didn't make it, and I remember Pat being kind of upset about it, and I was like
I really like the song. I still prefer her folk music better.
Yeah, no. I was just saying like it isn't bad. Maybe want to check out other stuff as well, and I was just gonna say maybe everybody else should do the same.
Yeah. And Trixie also had a documentary that came out it was released last year. I think it got a bigger release on Netflix this year, and that's Moving Parts. It's a great documentary. Basically, it's just showcasing like her on her show tours, her trajectory in the All-Star season of RuPaul's Drag Race, and sort of like her like general relationship with Katya and the ups and downs that went over the course of that making of that doc. And they just like, they're one of my favorite things to watch. They just have a great chemistry, and they're just tremendously fun to watch. That might be a little basic in terms of like drag queen fandom, but like they're popular for a reason.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and this is sort of just like a primer or an introduction, so a great place to start is always welcome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of my first drag queen content I watched was another YouTube series called Nobody's Watched Wrestling, which is a combo of two of my favorite things, drag queens and wrestling. It's where two drag queens and a gay DJ review wrestling pay-per-views and wrestling matches. There's Ariel Italic, who's just a more like intermediate fan. Like she's very knowledgeable, but she hasn't been watching for several years. You have Lady Berica Andrews, she's a more of a gender fuck queen. She has like a big beard and just like shows her chest hair. She's very ditzy in her personality, and she's more so like the newbie, like very very new to the fandom. It's like, so you have a nice range there, and DJ Action Report, he's sort of the quote the straight man of the group. Like he's very level headed and very dry, and he's like the hardcore fan who's watched for years and knows all the more obscure things.
Yeah.
And so they have a great rapport, all three of them. I would definitely recommend those as well if you like wrestling or just want to watch a bunch of queens read on wrestlers. And I got to watch a couple other like sort of this drag centric films this year. One John and I watched this year and really enjoyed was 2-1 Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, which is like a pillar of like queer content. Like it's a very famous queer movie,
and it's really good too. If you want to see Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo in drag, it's pretty fucking great.
It's really good. Like they have like they're dressed to the nines.
Mm-hmm.
John Leguizamo is fish as fuck in that movie.
Oh my god, yeah.
And it's basically about these three queens on a cross country tour. And they get stranded in the Midwest town where they have to, teach people, learn some new things. And like it's a little dated, but it's a very fun, heartwarming movie.
Yeah, I mean, and that's to be expected. The movie came out in, what, 95?
It was a very early 90s.
Yeah, so like there's some definitely like outdated terminology and stuff, but it's on Netflix. Highly suggest watching it. It's real fun.
And plus, there's one part in particular where John and I were literally screaming at.
And it's like in the first 10 minutes, and you'll know. Let's just say it involves RuPaul.
And it's a great moment. Don't want to ruin it here, but when you get to it, you'll know.
All right.
And of course, we talked a lot about Divine this year.
Yes,
We had our
the queen herself.
The Queen of Filth.
Who wants to die for art?
I've seen that video like all over Twitter now. It's so fucking good. Just a clip of that.
God, that female trouble is so good.
It's like we had so much with the John Waters films, like Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble,
Polyester.
God, that's such a good movie. and Divine is just a force of nature. Like probably if Divine was still alive, she would probably be the most famous drag queen.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, I mean, she was the inspiration for Ursula and the Little Mermaid. I mean, and when she, like, at the point when she died, I mean, she was a very, like, established actor, too. So, like, I mean, and even, like, outside of, like, camp John Waters movies, like, I mean, is a really good actor.
And I would recommend any of her John Waters appearances if you have the stomach for it.
Yeah, I will say.
If you want to start, a safe place to start would be Polyester.
I just
Definitely.
wanted to say I wasn't on for the John Waters thing, but I decided to go ahead and watch Female Trouble for myself. Yeah, it is absolutely disgusting. It's one of the most disgusting movies I've ever seen.
And it's not as bad as Pink Flamingos.
But it's very disgusting, but I really, really liked it. It hit the disgusting notes in the right way.
Exactly. Like, as John Waters says, there's such a thing as good bad taste and bad taste. And he's very much the good bad taste, in my opinion.
And if you just want to like a general overview of Divine's career and her life, I would recommend a documentary called I Am Divine on Netflix, because that will really give you like a more expansive view of what it was like her journey through life and like her career and her friendship and partnership with John Waters. And I think it's very recommended. So basically that's sort of been like my general overview of my favorite queens and like shows I've been watching. But I want to get into my current favorite drag content, and that's Dragula, or the broader title is The Boulet Brothers Dragula: The Search for the World's Next Drag Supermonster. This is currently streaming on Netflix. Unfortunately, it's only the second and the third seasons. For whatever reason, the first season is not on Netflix. Why? Who knows? But
Probably some bullshit
some
licensing reasons.
legal bullshit. And what makes Dragula different from, say, RuPaul, while it is a drag queen competition, they focus more on like horror-themed drag or more just like more forms of drag that aren't, I guess, widely popular. Like a more like underground, I guess, alternative form of drag. Mm-hmm. And basically, they're about sort of testing the queens on the same sort of basic things, like how well they're able to adhere their art form to the challenges and sort of competing through that way. But what makes it stand out is that, of course, they are more like horror themed, or like about monsters, or like something more disgusting or depraved. And their eliminations are a little bit different. Whereas the lowest performing queens at any given challenge are given one last chance to redeem themselves in an extermination challenge, whereas they must endure like a very physically demanding, painful, terrifying, or humiliating event.
Like, to put it in perspective, the first episode I watched, which was the first episode of season 2, the extermination round was where they just stuck a bunch of fucking needles in these queens, like just body everywhere. And it was just like, ow, no, why?
Yeah, like they're piercing their arms and upper chest with like these long needles, so just to see what they're willing to endure physically for the competition.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the more tamer ones.
Oh, for sure. And season 1 debuted in Canada Halloween night 2016, followed by season 2 in 2017, with a larger gap between the seasons, with season 3 debuting in 2019. And currently, if you have access to Shudder, they have the Boulet Brothers Resurrection, which is where they take queens from the first 3 seasons, give them a chance to apply again for a spot on the upcoming 4th season.
Ooh.
Now, I have watched all of season 2 and have started season 3, and for the show, I wanted the boys to sort of have a feel for like drag queen and drag queen competition, and I wanted to let them watch Dragula. So now I've been talking a lot, so I want to let them speak. What did y'all think of Dragula?
I have been watching Dragula pretty much all day today. Like I woke up at 12 and I watched it till we started recording at like 6. It is insane. It has me going through so many different emotions. I absolutely love it. One thing that I took away, that's not just one thing. I took a lot away from this. Why are they so mean to each other? And then
I was about to say,
like, they're so mean to each other, and then they just go right back into being nice, and they're like, okay, I'm so sorry. And then
there's so much shit. And y'all started with season 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so me and Pat watched all of season 2. And like the group in season 2 start out real like snipey, but like by the end of it, it's like this like sisterhood and this tight bond.
It's like a battered like sisterhood, like
yeah, like I mean, there's definitely some like tense moments to be sure, but I watched like the first 2 episodes of season 3 before recording, and God, they're fucking savage. They're fucking savage. They don't stop.
I will say, like, in terms of just like they're like just being like species spicy and like really just shady. That's just drag queens.
That is true.
That's just how drag queens are. Like, it's still. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's still like, man, it just still makes me cringe.
Like I can't be. It's hard for me to be rude. I don't know if they're playing characters or not, but like to be genuinely rude to someone is almost impossible for me. Like I can't. Are they playing characters? I don't know. I haven't followed any of these people before today.
Well, I think it depends on the queen.
It really does. Like because they're drag queens, they are going to be they're going to have a more larger than life personality. So by default, they're not going to have sort of the same sort of behaviors as, like, I guess the everyday person. But that's not to say there aren't like mild-mannered queens. But of course, this is a competition show. It's a reality show, so people want to see them be snipey and spicy. So that's kind of part and parcel. But I understand if that's not something you're used to, or like to the level that some of the queens will go. Because I will say, from where I am in season 3, they're really shady at each other. Like the barbs are out, the claws are out. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and like I said, season 2, the barbs are definitely out, but most of the time it's just like relegated to like a couple queens. But it's just like everyone in season 3 is just fucking spicy as hell.
And, yeah. I was just gonna add on to what Colt was saying. It was like, because we talked about this. I'm like the one person to like easily get cringed very like so often, and I retract. Like it's like I want to be sucked back into my body like a turtle, and every time something spicy was happening or was about to happen, I would literally pause it and just have to like do something else or walk away because I was like, oh, this is too spicy for me. Too spicy.
No, I understand, because I remember when I was first watching Drag Race, that was really like one of the first competition reality shows I ever watched, or just reality in general. And so like I would get a little worn out just from just like them just like yamming back at each other, just like bickering, and just like, God, it's just like a lot to hear people just like bicker and fight. As funny as it can be sometimes, it's just like I'm wore out because like I'm not in an environment where I'm just like being picked at by someone all the time.
Yeah,
and like just knowing my sort of temperament, I hate conflict and try to avoid it as much as possible. So like I know exactly what y'all mean when you say like fuck.
Yeah, you
it
bring
can
up
be
my
cringe.
drug addiction past. That's pretty fucked up. In the middle of this, middle of this conversation.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. These girls, they read each other for filth. Like they'll dig out the dark shit and just like say it so offhandedly that they'll cut you with a knife.
God, it was fucking James Majesty in season 2 where she's just. Who was it? Monique, where she was just like, you fucking trigger hacked, be alcoholic. And I'm like, fuck.
You gotta pop a Xanax every 10 fucking minutes.
Fuck.
Like there's definitely certain queens that are more abrasive. Like we had a time in season 2 with like James Majesty.
God, she was insufferable.
She was very obnoxious, and Abora, she was just like very very self-centered and kind of delusional, and in some respects,
in some ways, but then like also self-deprecating, because then she would just like be like a bitch for like the entire episode, and then the other queens would call her out, and she'd be like, okay, I'm sorry, I learned my lesson, and then the next episode she's back on her bullshit. It's just like, honey, you need to stop. Just please.
You know,
but like I will say by the end of that season, like I really came around on her.
Abora had a better, I guess, character development than James Majesty did.
Yeah, and like it was not that like James Majesty was like bad, but God, sometimes she just
she still
was
had
a lot.
She still had some of her bullshit by the end, where I feel like Abora had sort of maybe turned a corner a little bit better than she had.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did want to say, with what you've seen in season 3, are there any queens or any looks that have stand out to you so far?
Shoot. I don't know a lot of I don't remember a lot of the names. There are some names that I remember because like either I hate them or don't hate them, but I have strong feelings of you don't have to be so mean. Chill out.
Yeah, I was about to say I specifically don't like Dahlia Black and Madeline Hatter.
They're both
those two piss
mean.
me
They're
off.
snakes from hell.
They're
Oh
so
my
fucking
God.
mean.
And-
I mean,
and the
because
thing-
Madeline Hatter towards the end, because like, spoiler, there's an extermination challenge at the end, and one of them has to jump out of a plane, and she's just like, do you want to be on it? Or do you want to be in this, part of the competition? And they're like, she's like, yeah. And she's like, then jump out of the fucking plane. And it's like, but it's one of my greatest fears. Jump out of the fucking plane. Like, okay, you would jump out of the plane, but this person is afraid of jumping out of the plane. Like, they're not going to do what you do. You two have two different fears. Like, that's such a, like, bitch.
Yeah, and it's so strange because both of them, like, Madeline Hatter is the mother, and Dahlia is the daughter of one of the queens from season 2, Victoria Black, and Victoria was like one of the chillest fucking
Like, she was
queens.
very genuine and like one of the like most well liked queens. And to take a step back, what John means by mother and daughter is like in drag, typically when someone's being introduced, like once they get into drag or being introduced, they have a mentor. They'll have a queen to sort of take them under the wing and show them the ropes.
Yeah.
So essentially, they become their mother. So that's what I mean by drag mother. So Madeline Hatter taught Victoria James Black to be a drag queen, and then Victoria James Black taught Dahlia Black how to be a drag queen. So then Dahlia just took Black to honor her drag mother.
Yeah, and Victoria is so like diametrically opposed to those two. I'm like, how the fuck did they come from the same cloth?
Yeah.
Because like Victoria was one of my favorites the previous season.
Jonathan sent a list of names. Now I see.
Yeah, I tried to find one that didn't have spoilers in it.
One name that I remembered because like it's so out there. I was like, that can be a drag name. Yeah, sure. Was Louisiana Purchase?
I know. Like when that bitch came out, I fucking screamed. I'm like, this bitch with her whole fucking chest is named Louisiana Purchase.
And she has such a striking first impression because like she's the oldest queen in the company. She's probably like in her mid to late 40s, but like the way she painted her face and her entry look, I thought this bitch got a big old head. It just
oh my god,
ain't like polygonal head, and then like,
she looked like a goddamn PS1 character.
But then like in her other appearance, it's much more like quote drag, like normal for drag. Like I loved her look as like the burlesque vampire in episode 2 of season 3.
Yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, like when she came out with her like introduction, I'm like, bitch, you look like a fucking horse.
She looked like if Cher had like pinned in her corners of her face and just like stretched.
Like from fucking Terry Gilliam's Brazil, where they stretch out their faces.
Yeah, but like I love Louisiana Purchase. She's just like an old Southern queen.
Oh yeah, she's fucking great. And same with Priscilla. Like I don't know what Priscilla said at one point, but she had me dying.
Yeah,
Priscilla. There's a part in there where they're out of their drag and it's their normal, and like literally was totally crushing on Saint Lucia. Was literally said that I'm Snow White. Put your balls in my hand, and started whistling like a bird. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like some of these queens are thirsty as fuck. Like this,
very horny.
Like the scene in there's a scene in episode 2 where the Boy Brothers is manservant Israel, this giant, just like daddy of a man.
God, and like I'm not attracted to men, but holy fuck, is that man hot? Like, and then like he gets like hotter between seasons. I'm like, how the fuck is this possible?
And like all the queens are just like cooing and gushing over Israel. And like he's normally in the show, he's completely silent and stoic. But for like a second, you see him like crack a smile when they're just like gushing over him.
Yeah, and then Priscilla once again says, "Man, I want to ride to Israel like a mechanical bull or something like that." I'm like, God damn, y'all need to fuck.
I was gonna say another. Now I will say there was one drag queen who actually like I actually enjoyed their look was Yovska, and I can't believe they got a 10,000-year-old drag. Wait, 20,000-year-old? I can't remember what
thousands of years
They're really old.
Oh yeah.
Hold on, wait. I think I can find it. 20,000-year-old drag queen. That's crazy.
I know.
I can't believe they did that.
God, one of the. God, when they were like introducing themselves to each other, and then one of the queens called that bitch Dobby, I about died.
That was funny. that was pretty good. But I'm very I really like her. I mean, she they're worried that she wouldn't use makeup, but like even with the mask and like some makeup and stuff, that mask looked pretty good. And I don't know, the overall design, like outfit, like when she's introduced was pretty sick. Like, man, I don't know, but man. Also, she was just she said something. Oh yeah, she said for some like I think Yovska was just trying to be playful and said instead of saying Madeline said Madeline, and Madeline Hatter was like no, it's Madeline, and like it was just like I'm not a cookie, and then it goes to like like one-on-one camera with like you're not a fucking child, it's Madeline,
and then
like,
the person who messed up said
bitch.
sorry. I complicated names, like just trying to move on. She's like, it's not a complicated name.
Yeah.
But-
yes, exactly. It's not a like, okay, they're probably just trying to do a bit. And then but Yovska was just trying to say, like, I like the rash on your titties. And just, had to say it 3 times. And then somebody jumped in and said, well, you shouldn't be commenting on makeup since you don't, yours was bad or you don't do it much. Like, Jesus. That was Dahlia Black who said that. Like, oh my God. Like,
What?
Yeah.
bitches.
God, they all going for the jugular.
Like all the drag queens are just very strong personalities by default usually.
Yeah.
So when you get a room of like 10 very strong type A personalities and are all just ripping on each other, like there's gonna be clash.
Episode
Yeah.
1 was the rough. It was one of the rougher things because like it jumped in right away. They're being really aggressive.
Yeah, and season 2 starts out that way too, where like I know like Abora really goes in on bitch pudding.
And then James Majesty had her feud with where she fussed with like
Literally everybody, but mostly Kendra.
Kendra and Monique, and
Granted, Monique was pretty insufferable, but
yeah, like she wasn't exactly helping herself either.
nah, but like, fuck. Now I will say for what's the masked queen from season 3,
Yovska.
Yovska. That bitch is an instigator, and she just pisses me off. Because all
so?
she'll do is just like make one little like comment, and then it'll just set everyone out like a bee's nest, and they're just like, motherfucker's like an agent of chaos.
One person
20,000 years old.
One person from this season 3 that like at the first episode they kind of introduced when they were introduced they're a little rough. I was like, ooh, this person's probably gonna be annoying. Was Hollow's Eve, but as the show's gone on, she's actually probably one of the nicest, most genuine one there.
Yeah, I could see that, but I like that first episode, like me and Pat were talking. It's like her or their fucking performance is probably the best out of anybody, but their personality is so fucking insufferable.
Yeah,
Like I feel like when she came out and was like, I'm a post-binary socialist with a penchant for anarchy, I'm like, oh my God.
like
Why?
there's like a few times when they know that they genuinely messed up or maybe offended in a certain way. They immediately see like, oh crap, I did do that, or ooh, that kind of came off weird, and they will apologize.
Yeah, and like, and even just from watching the second episode, it seemed like they kind of chilled out a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. They're probably gonna be one of my favorites.
I like we said, like Halloween, they had a very like strong personality, just like very like a little pedantic in certain things,
And kind of cringe.
getting hung up. But like we said, Halloween has like one of the best like performances and just general like just high level of skill. Like their first look had like staples in their face, but they were pulling strings out of, and the second one had like they're pulling like bugs and shit out of their like bodice, and like just like an amazing overall look. And like plus to talk about them a little bit, like Dragula kind of made a little history with being like one of the first like major drag competition shows to have not only like a non-binary queen, which taking from Hallows Eve sort of self-introduction, they tend to be like a more non-binary, and they have Landon Cider, which is a drag king,
who's probably, if not my favorite, one of my favorites right now.
she is also very cool.
because I will say I knew a little of Land Insider going into season 3. I've seen some of their look. Like they have a look I saw on Instagram of like them in a more horror version of the Tin Man Wizard of Oz, and it's fucking amazing. And like because Land Insider is a drag king, they're a lesbian woman who's like puts on this sort of hyper masculine drag, and like whatever the male equivalent of Fish is, that's Land Insider. Because I thought seeing some of their pronouns, I thought it was a man doing whatever drag, but they're very male Fish, whatever that terminology is. That's it. Put that in chat.
Well,
Okay, I'm gonna send this.
Well, I was gonna say because that was something Hollow's Eve talked about, was how they got offended by when Priscilla Chambers used the word fishy and fish, and like how it pertains to the pH balance of like a woman's area. So that's why I was kind of confused whenever you mentioned fishy. I was like, or fish camp. I was like, is that that's I don't know. That was kind of
honestly, like. From what I've seen, I haven't seen as many people say that fish is a more like negative connotation, because it's a whole thing. Like I guess we'll just get and say it, because like fish comes from vaginas, if they're carried in a certain way, it gives off a very fish-like odor, and that's kind of where Fishy Queen comes from, because like they're so much like a woman that they have a vagina and it has an odor. But because I guess we're in this new understanding of gender and sort of biology, where since Holly is coming from a more like non-binary perspective, it seems to be a bit limiting that to put like just like strict woman and man on drag when they don't consider themselves either.
Yeah, well, and on top of that too, like Hollow's Eve they were assigned female at birth, right?
I think they were.
So like I can imagine a person who does have a vagina, that might be a little more offensive, but like,
yeah,
because like I'm like somewhat familiar with drag culture, so like I've heard that term thrown around all the time and didn't think anything of it, and so like when Hollow's Eve was like, oh, that's offensive, I'm like, bitch, what the fuck? No, it ain't. But then I did a little research while I was watching it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I could see why that would be offensive. But
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but like from what the consensus I was able to find online, it was like, yeah, if viewed in a certain way, it could be, but like there are other terms that probably should take more precedent and probably should worry about more than fish. But like I said, that this is me, an outsider looking in, talking about this, so take what I say with a grain of salt.
I mean, that's sort of been my general understanding of the term, and sort of my sort of more newer foray into overall drag fandom. It's a more individual like choice and sort of feeling on how that term is used. And like you said, there are more terms out there that carry a much stronger, more negative connotation that seem to be have a stronger precedent for like maybe we should rethink how we use these or who use these. With that was a controversy that came up in RuPaul's Drag Race. There's certain terminology that she appropriated for her show that's been discussed of whether or not that should continue.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, because like I can totally understand how that can be offensive, because I mean, like Halsey was saying, that you shouldn't when it comes to the pH balance of a woman's vagina or area, that's not something that should be like I'm trying to think of what they specifically used. It's just, that shouldn't be made fun of or judged, because like, it can either be caused by an STD, or like they said, pH balance is thrown off, or, it's just, this is like a misconception that like they think that a woman's, that somebody, a man or another woman or whoever, thinks that a woman's vagina will never smell like fish, and if it does, there's something wrong. I mean, it could be, but also it is kind of, it's natural, and it's like there's nothing wrong with that. And then also,
and there's a lot of factors that are completely out of those people's control.
Their control. So it's like, I completely understand but like I said, I'm new to understanding drag culture and these terms, so I can't really offer much other than that.
Yeah, and like I said, all of us have been assigned male at birth, so kind of take what we say with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
It's like anything. If you're new to a new sort of like culture or fandom, it's always best to sort of like think before you speak. Just sort of observe how other people talk and react, and sort of, just sort of take your time to build up what's in the environment, especially when it comes to like queer culture. Where like especially if you're a spectator in something that's like in queer culture and you're not queer yourself. So take a little bit more time to think about the things you say and things you do, especially in a space like either with queer people or like have queer adjacent. So just like just take a little more time. You're all smart people, so just think about it.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, like this shouldn't have to be said, but like if someone's like, hey, don't use that, I find that offensive, be considerate.
Respect that person's wishes.
Exactly.
So, but I think season 3 is off to a great start. John and I, we finished season 2 today together. It is my second time watching it, and gosh, there's a lot of great moments in season 2 and a lot of great queens. We don't want to spoil anything, but like, do you want to talk about some of your favorite queens before we move on?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think for me the highlight of season 2 was Bitch Pudding. Just
yes,
hands down, she was fucking great, and all of her looks were just like, she got to a rough start. Like the first couple episodes, she was kind of rough, but once she hit her stride, holy shit, were her looks amazing. And like I said earlier, like Victoria I loved her, even though she was more low key. I don't know. There was something about her I kind of connected with.
Yeah.
And then, guy, like I love almost all of them, so it's kind of hard not to like just pick, just a few. But like, I like Dolly a lot, and when Abora chilled out, I was like, okay. Even though the nose thing kind of I wasn't vibing with.
Like Abora is a queen in season 2. She has like a very pointed beat, like props using on her nose.
Yeah, and a lot of her looks were very like bird or chicken inspired. So, I mean that they looked great for the most part. It was just, your mileage may vary as far as personal taste.
Yeah.
And then, fucking Erica was a sweetheart.
Yeah, she definitely had a lot of heart. While she did struggle at points during her season, I feel like she had a lot of sincerity that came through.
Yeah, and I think having her through that season, like, she was mostly like the mediator between everybody. And I think that's one thing like season 3 is missing, is someone who can just sort of mediate the conflict.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like for me, like season 3, like it seems more harsh, is because it didn't have someone like Erica who's like able to take people aside and be like, okay, let's work through this. Like, why do you feel this way?
Like, are you being a little mean? Maybe, we should figure out why you feel this way, and maybe we can sort of work things out.
And I mean, she would get frank too. She'd be like, "You're being a fucking cunt, and you need to stop."
Yeah, because like with drag queens, even the nicest one, they'll fucking lay your ass out.
Yeah, and sometimes that's needed. And she also had a very kawaii aesthetic, which I liked for the most part, even if most of her looks didn't fit the challenges a lot of times.
Yeah, that
not
was,
to spoil it.
Yeah, but she had a very distinct style that came through the challenge, whether that hurt her or not.
Yeah, and then like Pat warned me. He's like, there's some looks at the end of season 2 that are going to make you gag. And I thought he was being hyperbolic, and whoo boy, there was one. I'm not going to say who, but holy fuck, I about threw up.
There
Because,
is one in season 3
ahead.
as well. I just want to warn you. So there's a look in season 3 that made me feel sick to my stomach.
Because because like I said, like when I told John, there's a look at the end of season 2 that had me gagging. I wasn't meaning it in like in the sense of like how it's used in queer culture, like, oh, this is so good, like it left my mouth open, like I was gagging. No, like I was physically retching at this one queen's look. Like it was amazing. Like it's a well constructed look, but I was sick.
Yeah, like I mean that, and like the Boulay brothers were talking about how the crew was like having to run to the bathroom because it was so gross.
I'm excited to watch season 2 now after I finish 3.
Yeah, and like, granted, they'll probably spoil who won season 2, but
yeah. So I would, if you don't want to be spoiled for season 2, I would say stop when you get close to the finale and then go back to watch 2, because they show the winner of season 1 toward the end of season 2. So like if you want it as minimal spoilers as possible for like,
and I think I saw somewhere that the winner of season 2 does come and judge.
So
at some point.
So I would say keep an eye out for that. But
Okay.
like John said, so go ahead. Did you have something to say, Colt?
No, I was just saying okay. Like
Okay.
I understand now.
Okay. Some of my like Bitch Pudding was like my favorite from season 2 because she has just like this trashy hooker aesthetic through a lot of her looks. Like she has a great look in a slasher themed episode.
Oh my god, that was so fun. Because like a lot of the looks from that one, I didn't feel like really, because it was sort of like scream queens.
Yeah, so they're gonna be more like fish, to use that term, lack of a better one.
Yeah, and like a lot of them, like I could see where they were coming from with what they were going for, but I didn't feel like a lot of them fit the scream queen aesthetic. But Bitch Pudding's holy shit, like that was just like the most, like if a scream queen was like turned up to 11.
Yeah, and like because there's a certain point with Bitch Pudding where she changed, like for me.
And it's pretty early on.
So like, if you're not a big fan of her at the beginning, I say give her a chance, because she hits her stride at some point.
Yeah, because like at first, like I was like, I hate this bitch, for pun intended. But like, yeah, like I think it's like around episode like 3 or 4, she really comes around.
And like you said, we had a lot of similar favorites. Like I love Victoria James Black. She had a really good personality and like very visual in her drag.
Oh my god, and like just the details and everything. Like I mean, like even if her performance wasn't great, like she was going to be like top 3 just from look alone.
Yeah, and like as much as Jane Majesty got on my nerves with just kind of being obnoxious, she was like one of the best like skilled queens. Like she has a Dia de los Muertos look that I just loved.
Yes. I also really love the Mad Max one.
Yeah. One of my favorite episodes in season 2 is the rock and roll episode.
Oh yes, I'm a slut for fucking like glam metal, like 80s butt rock.
Yeah.
And God, they were all so good.
So there's a lot to look forward to. I definitely encourage Colt Wenzel to pick those up, to either go back to season 2 or to continue with season 3. And anybody out there who's like just like enjoys horror and like more off the beaten path stuff, like alternative punk rock stuff, Dragula is a lot of fun.
Exactly, and I feel like for me, it was probably like sort of the best place to get into drag for me, because I definitely like the more horror stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas like more of the top 40 RuPaul sort of drag could, I don't say turn me off, but I was like, okay, yeah, that it didn't grab me the way Dragula.
There's a very distinct difference, because like RuPaul's been on for over 10 years, so she has a very like big, highly produced, like a lot of moving pieces. And so, like, to have a more, like, grounded, more humble production, like with Dragula, it's a breath of fresh air, honestly. And because there aren't as many challenges, you see more of the queen's interactions.
Yeah,
and like their process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the heads and tails of Dragula. Obviously, very strongly recommended by all of us here.
It's on Netflix,
so easy to get. But my next point is that I want to know about what y'all have experienced with drag in the past, whether through like TV, through media, or even like personal experiences. I kind of want to know, like, what was your preconceived feelings of drag before this episode and before watching Dragula? That's what I'm interested in. So what do y'all know about drag, or what experience with it before?
I've known a little bit about drag pretty much since like I was like 9, 10, somewhere in there. I used to watch RuPaul with Cody when it would come on at night, and we just have a blast yelling at that. And also, one thing I do remember, it never leaves my head. Also, whenever I think drag, this pops up in my head. It's the Chow Down at Chick-fil-A music video.
Oh my God! I think I remember that.
It's 3 drag queens. It was around the time that Chick-fil-A was it was coming to the public more so about how Chick-fil-A is
homophobic
and stuff like that. And they just said, you know what? Let's sing about some waffle fries at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, that's a good song.
It's a very fun song and video. You should definitely give it a check. But that's pretty much all my history. I don't really have much other than just RuPaul and that.
I've always heard stuff from Pat and Cody and Tanner about this place local called Icon, and earlier this year we went back in February. We planned this kind of thing because we were originally supposed to go for my birthday, but like I was just really, really nervous, and I was like, I just want to low key just celebrate my birthday. So we didn't do it, but then then in February we were like, let's do it, and I was like, yeah, let's do it, because like I don't, I was like, the reason why I was just so nervous is just because like I mean, at the time, also, I wasn't. I think I was low on some like of my medicine, so like my anxiety was just up real high, and like, yeah. And then I just didn't know like what the experience would be like. It was just such an unknown thing, Like nothing against like drag queens or kings at the time. It was just something I didn't ever experienced up close. And but then in February, I was like, yeah, let's go do it, and we did it, and it was fucking awesome.
God, that night was so fun.
That was a great night. That was one of the things I want to talk about in this section because that was your first experience seeing drag live in person. I really wanted to see what you felt, like what was that first experience like? What were some of the standout moments, if you could remember, from that evening?
Oh, I can remember, Pat. It was funny because it was my first time, and you guys made me drink a lot, and somehow I was like, I became, instead of regular Wenzel, I became Cosmic Entity Wenzel, Antichrist Wenzel. For some reason, I like...
Side tangent, this is the first time this boy was drinking, and he was drinking all of us, like, veteran alcoholics under the table. Yeah. I don't know how the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, like for a first time out and about, like, drinking, like... He showed it, he did not skip a beat, and we knew we had a monster in our hand. We took like a shot of Fireball whiskey and just did not blink.
Like, because literally
I taught him well.
Because that is a very infamous drink in our friend circle. Only a couple people, one of them included here, can stand a drink, and he just like just took it like it was nothing.
Oh yeah, it's like me and Tanner. That's it.
Because like I was nervous at first. I was like, I wonder what it's gonna taste like, and I was like, oh. Nothing. It tasted fine.
It tastes like
oh man,
it's like drinking Big Red. It's great.
And it's so funny because everybody, it's like everybody was handing me these really strong drinks and saying like, hey, try this, and it was just like nothing was happening to me. And I I was drunk though, obviously, but like that don't drink and drive, everybody.
Oh yeah, we had an Uber.
We had a cool as hell Uber.
Was that the lady? Yeah, that was the lady who offered us, was it a lady or a guy who offered us to go to Taco Bell?
I thought it was a guy.
It might have been a guy.
It was a guy.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a guy.
I was drunk as fuck. I don't remember.
Yeah, I was about to say, because you guys might not remember this, but I remember when the guy was driving, it was a Lyft. He was driving us, and we just like went on this huge tangent about music and SoundCloud and stuff. And
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember too much, honestly. The only problem I had was by the very, very end, I was just there goes I was just really sleepy. That's it. I was just sleepy. But other than that, I was conscious. I was aware of everything. Like, all my thoughts were sound and here, and I remember everything I said. But back to my experience though, when we were there, I was so nervous because I didn't know what was happening. It was amazing. Like, it was like, my friends were there. They all provided a safe environment. And the people there were really nice too. Like, just the, icon goers or whatever, they were all really nice. Nobody was like, mean or rude or anything. Like, everybody was super, super nice. And the drag queens were just beautiful. I mean, damn, they looked good. And like, they were also just really funny because like at some point, I think it was Tanner and everybody else was saying it was my birthday. So one of them, I can't remember her name.
It was Genesis.
Genesis is like the headliner of that club.
Yeah, she's like the head bitch in town.
Genesis, she was like asking me questions. She was like, what's your name? I'm like, Wenzel. She's like, where are you from? I was like, Coling. She's like, that's a Coling name. Doesn't make any sense, but I'll go with it. And then they said that was my birthday, so she gave me a shot of tequila. Really fucking good. Man.
Yeah, because I remember you having an interaction with Genesis, and I remember you're kind of like you're just being your Wenzel self. You had your hoodie on. You're kind of like sheepish and just like, my name's Wenzel. It's my birthday, and everybody's like, "Hey, happy birthday, Wenzel!" And everybody's like, "Woo!"
Yep.
God, that was so fun.
And then it was so funny too because it wasn't my birthday, and then like at the end of it, there were so many people telling me happy birthday, and as we were leaving, there was like 2 girls leaving. They're like, "Your name's Wenzel, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, happy birthday." I'm like, "Thank you." Just like, it was great. I loved it. It was a great time. I would definitely 100% want to go again.
Oh yeah,
sick.
especially when COVID dies down. Our asses are gonna be at Icon just a bumping.
Yeah, imagine the queenness of it all. If we were at Icon or any other gay club when like Chromatica came out.
Oh my God, the gays would be bumping.
Yeah, that'd be sick. No lie, like, their performances were great, and like I kind of wish I brought more money because I was giving out so many 1s and a 5s. Like, it was great. Man,
that is a good point. I did want to bring up. If you ever get the chance to go to a drag show, just a couple of points of behavior, just sort of general behavior. Hey, just be kind, considerate, aware of yourself and your surroundings and other people around you. Just be generally nice. Also, always tip your queens
and bring cash and in small bills too.
It's because especially a lot of these queens, that's how they get paid is through their tips, through their shows. And like, even if a queen just kind of ho hum for you, give them a tip anyway, because like that might be a large source of their income.
Exactly.
Hell yeah.
And there are a couple queens around here who always put on an amazing show.
One of my favorite shows is when we were at Icon, and Genesis was one of her shows. There's usually 3 queens that each do 3 acts, and this time I remember she's out in her day glow leotard. She had a thermos with her, and she was kind of dancing around with her hand over the lid, and she pours this liquid around her, and it's like, what's that about? And then you see this. Some of the stage managers like, back up, and she fucking lights that shit on fire.
Fuck.
Like, that stage was on fire, and Tanner was like 5 inches from the flames. He was just like, "Whoa!"
That's crazy.
That was some shit. It was so cool,
man.
And one of my favorite moments from one of our many times there was a drag show where Cody lost his shit at. There was a queen who she was a impersonator queen. And she did Reba McEntire, and holy fuck, she was Reba.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember Cody and Tanner both talking about that a lot. So,
like, Cody was like, "That's Reba," because she looked just like her. She had the same mannerism, the same facial expression. She fucking like channel the spirit of Reba McEntire. It was good shit.
That was
Hell
great.
yeah.
So drag shows, they're a blast. We definitely recommend it. I guess the next step is see if Cole ever wants to go to a drag show. We definitely want to hold his hand and get him introduced to that if he's ever interested.
Oh, of course I'd like to go. It's just like by the time I turned the age that I could enter these shows, the world was in lockdown.
Yeah. But I mean, they let you in at 18. You know, you just can't drink.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
they'll make you they give you a straight edge mark on you.
Yeah. Sort of my. I'm probably have a little more experience than Colt or Wenzel, but because growing up, a lot of my friends were LGBT, so I had friends who were drag queens and, you know, and sort of very adjacent to it. And then, like I said, we'd go to our local Icon, which is our local gay club, and it's the only place in fucking town you can fucking dance because every other bar in this fucking town is just fucking bro country, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you ain't lying, man. When we were, it was funny because we were walking by one place and there was like a fight about to happen. A bunch of course, frat rednecks yelling at each other. God damn, good shit.
Was that when we were walking from La Hacienda and passed by Innisfree?
Yeah, because
Yep.
there's like some bro dudes at another bar, and a second set was passing them in like a truck, and they were just like yelling across the road.
God, yeah, Innisfree is just a degenerate pit.
Just the troubles of living in a college town.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, because like our local gay club is the only place where you can fucking dance. Has any decent music either.
Exactly. Like, the only other ones would probably be like Downtown Pub, which doesn't exist anymore.
R.A.P.
R.I.P. our usual spot. Or Alcove, but Alcove is a fucking closet. Icon is too, but Icon's a lot more fun.
Yeah, and plus like
A lot less hipsters.
yeah, and plus like as much as you drink there, you don't mind the space after a while.
Oh no, and like
No.
the fucking bartenders there, they know how to get you there, and their drinks are fairly cheap. Too.
Yeah, the most drunk I've ever been has been at those bars.
Oh my god, I've had to drag people out that have been puking in trash cans. So yeah, like, you know, very familiar with Genesis, who's, like I said, probably top queen around here. I saw her on Facebook a while back, and she did a cosplay of Jean Grey as Dark Phoenix.
Oh yeah, she's a big comic book fan.
And God, it was fucking great.
Also, it may not be something that you think about, but also drag queens really tall.
Oh my God, yeah.
I took a picture with this before, and
Yeah.
she's like, I swear, a foot taller than me.
Well, yeah. Well, and also too, they're wearing like really high heels.
There's
So-
heel, but like a lot of queens are just naturally freakishly tall.
Yeah. And then one of my favorite shows was we went to this, some friend or some acquaintances through this like Halloween party. Was that last year?
Last year, we had a warehouse Halloween party. Holy shit, that was a barn burner.
Oh, and we had a drag show, and probably one of our other favorites, Saliva Godiva, was performing, and she did a routine that was mostly just
Vine compilation.
Vine compilations, and it was fucking hysterical.
Hell yeah.
Because like there was a song woven through all these like Vine.
It was a 303 song, the Daisy Dukes one.
But it had to, it would just like cut through all these famous vines, like look at all these chickens and Mary Chrysler.
Or my favorite is like something Daisy Dukes make me want to go say free Shavakadu.
And Saliva Godiva, she's definitely an up and coming queen, and she's very much in the aesthetic of Dragula.
Yeah, it's like hashtag let's get Saliva Godiva on Dracula.
And it's like she's very much into horror and like very much into the filth aspect.
Oh yeah,
Because God, I've seen clips of some of her shows and like I about gagged. Like she's like eating people's feet. She's like rubbing stuff on her ass, and like she's very intentionally like playing up like a gross aesthetic, and like it works. By God.
yeah. So and like Colt was saying, like that Chick-fil-A song, and I've been very aware of like some like Queen music and stuff like that, but like, God, after Pat has showed me Dragula, I'm like, I'm in for it, and I'm about to do a deep dive. You better believe.
It's no longer just a Rob Zombie song.
I don't mean to be that guy, but I was kind of low-key disappointed when, realized they didn't have the budget to license that song.
Yeah, they're not like RuPaul where they can have a licensed song every episode. Where like paying at least 10 to 15 grand for a song.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell, they played Toxic in the season opener of season 3.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, and I think that was, like you were saying earlier, I think that was probably one thing that sort of, I don't want to say repelled, but something that didn't really attract me to RuPaul was just how overproduced it kind of got after a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this like really dingy, alternative, very humble production. And the Boulay brothers are fucking great.
Yeah, Drakmorda and Swanzilla, they're great personalities. They're very much evocative of like the old horror hosts of the days that's like Elvira and Vampira and people like that. And they have a podcast, Creatures of the Night, which is it's a great listen. They talk about queer culture, they talk about horror, they talk about cryptids, hauntings, everything in between. It's a great listen. I would recommend that.
And why didn't you tell me this before now?
Well, now you have a whole other thing to consume.
I know what I'm doing at work tomorrow.
The only downside is it's a bi-weekly show.
Bi-week? Oh.
It comes out once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But it's a great show because like my podcast listening has sort of had this trajectory where it's like horror, like cryptid, supernatural, and then like gay / horror. So now it's just gay.
Fuck.
Hell yes.
So
yeah,
it's very much just it's been a ride just to sort of to have this sort of new branch of my drag fandom with Dragula. It's a great show, and I can't praise it enough. And lastly, we want to have a little fun with just what we've experienced with drag so far. I would like to hear from the lads. What would their drag name be, and what would their persona be? What would their look, and what would their routine be if they have one in mind? So I would like to hear that from y'all. Lads, make a drag queen.
I'll be honest with you, this is a whole lot.
Yeah, like Pat didn't tell us this until we were right about to record, and I'm like, "Fuck, that's a lot to drop on us at once."
And of course, this is just like you don't have to do all three, but just like if any one you have an idea for.
I have one.
All right, let's hear it, Wenzel.
Because like as soon as he dropped that, I was like everybody else. I was like, that's a bomb to drop on us. But okay, it's just like Dragula. We just gotta go. It's a competition. I had one called or I thought of it on the spot. Miss Kaiju. The look is, I guess, monster stuff. Because like I was thinking like maybe like go for like a villainy kind of monster routine or like personality, kind of like with Dragula. Because God, that's such a fun idea. And then like also like all the songs would be baby metal. All the music would be baby metal.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
God, I thought of like just sort of I'm just like loving like any sort of like 80s hair metal throwback. So like a look like that, like I don't know, like a name like Ride the Lightning or some sort of play on that.
Ride Ya Lightning.
Oh, Ride Ya Lightning, hell yeah.
Oh, Ride Ya Lightning.
Oh fuck. Okay, I just got another good one because I've been listening to this really good avant-garde metal band. Their new album. It's called. They're called Imperial Triumphant, and they had a new album come out this year called.
Are lit.
Yes, Alphaville, and I didn't really like Vile Luxury, but I might go back and listen to it because maybe I might like it now. But like this new album, it's like avant-garde metal, jazz metal.
Yeah.
It's just fusions of different genres, and like when you look at their what their album art and like what they're going for, it reminds me a lot of the silent film Metropolis. And now that I think about it, you could do a fucking drag of the woman, the robot lady in Metropolis, do that, and like,
oh, I'm sure that exists.
Probably, and like also like use like for your music, use like some heavy like Imperial Triumphant or some like more avant-garde like music or something, and then like really work up that look. I don't know what a name would be for that, but do something with that if you're interested.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is like someone who's really into fucking metal, like fucking the music for Dragula, like especially in season 2, like by the end of it, and granted it's all like royalty free, but holy shit, I was like, hell yeah.
Or like they've had like personal friends who are like musicians and like sound directors, so like they're able to use like original music for the show as well.
Yeah, and it's like big like symphonies and just like chugging guitars. I'm like, fuck yes, this is me.
Nice.
There's a really great, like, I guess more rock metal song in like the finale for a show. That was good.
Oh my god, yeah.
Mine would sort of be like because I'm such a big fan of like wrestling and toku and comics. I would very much be incorporate that. Like I'd have like this belt that led me to like switch between all of my different favorite things. Very much like playing into the sort of like the kayfabe of it. Like I'm just a toku hero who can transform into all these different types of things. Like, because you can't tell me tokusatsu isn't drag when you have these people transform into strong, flamboyantly colorful characters. I mean, that's drag.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And my name would be Ginger Aileen. Because I'm a redheaded bitch and I'm struggling.
All right, boys, it's done. We're done. Fuck, Pat.
What about you,
good.
Colt?
Dude, I am scratching my head. I'm looking around my room, panicking. I'm like, oh god, that's not a good name. You know what? My name would be War of 1812.
Why did you go like something with Gundam?
I was
I
trying
thought
to
you were
think of a
Gundam
Gundam
Queen.
name, but I couldn't think of anything. So I thought Louisiana Purchase. That's a name. Why not War of 1812?
Fucking Colt coming out like a colonial bitch. Got the fucking powdered wig and the giant fan and shit. Oh my god.
She has like musket. Colt will have like muskets underneath her petticoat.
And she comes out riding a cannon, like an old timey like Revolutionary War cannon. God, Colt, we're going to make this happen. You know that,
I
right?
want to see the Revolutionary War fuck queen, but I want to see Gundam Queen, where she just has like the fucking little like the plastic frame bits like stuck on her face, like eyelashes, and she has like the pliers for like her fingernails.
Yes.
That's actually a really good idea.
I mean, shit. You could do like, oh man, I wouldn't say do your hair in a V-fin, but like you could put like a V-fin like tiara on.
No, I think the
and
hair in
then,
a
like,
V-fin would be pretty dang cool.
I mean, oh yeah, no, go for it. It would be just like fucking All Might.
Yeah.
From My Hero. Do that. Do have like some green visors, sunglasses. Do some like some kind of retro stuff with that. I don't know what you could do for the outfit. I would have to sit down and think about it. That was cool though about Dragula is that we actually see the queens like and the king, and we actually see them sketch out stuff. Like that was pretty neat.
Yeah. And I will say like that was something that kind of caught me off guard with season 3 because you don't really see much of that in season 2.
You see more like the interpersonal reaction and them like painting their face or like maybe like working on some stuff, but like you see more of their like physical creation of their looks.
Yeah, and they actually like
interesting.
talk about it more, like what they're trying to go for before the floor show. Whereas like in season 2, I feel like it's more like a secret, and then when they come out, it's oh fuck.
Which
Yeah.
that kind of helps it too. But like they both work in different ways.
Exactly.
I was gonna say though, Cole, you could do like if you had a name, I would go for like New Victory. Or something like that, like NU Victory, because there's Victory Gundam and there's New Gundam. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of sick. And Pat, I was gonna say Miss Kaiju could be like the enemy of your drag queen.
I like that. Like I got to summon my giant robot to fight your giant monster drag.
God,
Yep.
are we about to have a fucking drag wrestling show in our backyard?
I mean,
and once COVID stops.
I don't see why we can't.
Oh
Like,
my god! And
my
then,
dream, I would want to have a drag wrestling. That's why there's one episode in season 3 that fucking gives me so much goddamn life. It's that they literally the challenge was wrestling drag.
Wait, in Dragula or season
No,
or
in
RuPaul?
season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh hell
I was
yes.
like, fuck. I hit the ceiling there because that's exactly what I want.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's more the Venn diagram between wrestling and drag is closer to a circle than many people.
Oh, of course, because you have these people like putting on garish costumes and putting on this very
elaborate persona.
So like it's like wrestling is drag,
Hell yes.
comics are drag, anime is drag.
That was something that was awesome too about this was they got a comic book artist judge in there, and that was pretty sick. And like, you know, a lot of the drag queens and stuff, well, one of them, and there were others too, they were pretty much like inspired by anime, by comics, like, you know, that's pretty awesome. And I was just gonna say, if I could get like a dinosaur costume for Sasha, she could be like my little sidekick drag king.
Hell yes.
Oh, but I would love it because like Sasha is just kind of a bully and she doesn't listen to Wenzel, which would make a great dynamic.
You know, you say that, but she would actually probably just get scared of everybody and hide under my legs.
Oh.
Because whenever my dad like tries to talk to her, she'll just run to me and like hide behind me.
Oh.
Yeah, but then, you know, he's like, it's okay, and then, you know, gives her a tree, and she's like, who are you?
So, I guess lastly, like either I can ask this, like, what type of the 3 types of queen, which one you think you would be, or which one you think the other boys would be?
Y'all go first.
So there's fish, there's
Camp and genderfuck.
probably genderfuck for me and Jonathan. Because I feel like at this current point in time, we have long hair and it's easier to portray both genders normally, or not normally, popularly viewed way.
Wow. Okay.
Let's see. I think John could be a very good fish queen and a really good genderfuck queen.
That's what I was thinking. Just one of those two.
I think Wenzel, if he didn't keep his mustache, he could do a really good fish queen.
He could, yes.
I think he might be the fishiest.
Oh, definitely.
Oh man, I was gonna say I'm genderfuck, but you know, I'll take it. I'll take whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I could see you doing that as well.
Because like, there's no reason why you have to shave your facial hair. Because like, part of me wants to see how fish I could be if I were to be a drag queen. But also, I kind of want to see what I could do with the genderfuck. Like, I would know I would use my kilt and the beard and go from there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh fuck.
But
Hell yeah.
like, if you were to shave the beard, I could see you being a good camp queen.
And like, because I'm already thinking about the reveal. If I'm out there with the kilt and I just rip that bitch off, and I got just like this fucking thong under there.
Oh, yes. Fucking tucking
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, because I do have a wild fantasy. I did dream up a drag performance. I guess sort of to cap it off. If I ever were to make it as a drag queen, I think my dream performance right now was to do a routine set to Square Hammer by Ghost.
Yes.
That would be good.
Because like, actually, I think I have a couple of Ghost drag shows, which are very much in line with the Dragula aesthetic. Anyhow, basically, you go through I come out wearing like this very like papal regalia, you know, very much like Papa Emeritus himself. But then there's one point, I feel like it'd be a bit late in the song to do the reveal, but like there's a point like the last like maybe 50 to 30 seconds of the song. If you've seen the music video, you kind of know where the point is, where the big pop in the sky comes out. I would do that, where I just drop the robes, reveal, and I have like bikini on, drop the papal hat, and I'm just like fucking snatched.
Hell yes.
and I just strut, and I had like these like fuck me pumps on, like
Fuck.
just looking good.
Hell yeah.
So that's kind of the heads and tails of our drag show, everybody. I really appreciate y'all just like come into the drag I guess show that was just like with such interest and enthusiasm, because I was like, low-key, you're always a little concerned, a little worried about how something you really enjoyed kind of to yourself, how others will enjoy it. And I'm really glad that y'all have sort of picked up with it, because drag is very much a spectator show.
Yeah. And what I loved was, we were finishing season 2 today, and just seeing our group chat light up with Colt and Wenzel just being like, this is fucking awesome.
And also just like, just like the anxiety screaming.
Yes. Yeah, Colt just like,
Yeah. I just watched the first episode, and now I have another show to add to my already growing list of shows I need to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, the seasons are fairly short.
It's 11,
10
12
episodes.
10 episodes.
45 minutes to an hour.
So you can get to it fairly quickly if you want to binge it. I would say savor it.
Yeah.
And sort of as a last point, like not related to the drag, but just sort of the show in general. Like, this is my first like Patcast as being like the lead host. So I came just like this weird like headspace today. But basically, I just want to thank y'all for just like trusting me with the show. And it's sort of like, and plus everybody listening today, like sticking with us through this sort of transitional period with a couple of our members moving on to bigger, better things. Like, and just to show that you're still along for the ride with a few more less lads. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all y'all. When essentially I was a guest host or guest special guest that never left. So I really do appreciate y'all trusting me with the show and sticking with me as the show has gone on. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. We tried putting Pat traps out, but he just wasn't taking the bait.
Yeah. Also, just like thank you for thinking we were good enough to continue to hang out with every week, or talk to at least every week.
So I appreciate that, and appreciate all of you, and thank you for listening today, and for listening, and I hope you continue listening as the show goes on. I really do appreciate that. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe on all your podcasting platform that helps us out, puts us higher in the algorithm, and just keeps the show going. You can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, and any RSS feed catchers out there. We're in all of them. Just share them around, and we really do appreciate it. And listen to us on our socials, on Twitter and Instagram at AYCH Podcast, on Facebook and Letterboxd at AllYouCanHear, on Twitch at twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear, and YouTube as well, which is also AllYouCanHear. And lastly, you can follow me, Patrick, on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at John Lost His Name. Follow my art on Facebook at John Lost His Name Art.
My name is Jonathan. You can follow me on Twitter at JONIIBOI24 and Letterboxd at JohnOdenson12.
My name, Colt, follow me on Twitter at ColtD00. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening. I'm Wenzel. You can follow me on Twitter at WenzelWilkie. Follow my art Instagram at World of Wenzy. We are getting into the holiday season, and where we're at, and where I don't know if anybody where you might be at. It's getting cold now. Stay safe. Wear a mask, and yeah.
And before we go fucking vote.
Oh yeah, go vote.
Yeah, but also, I feel like if you're listening to us, you probably do.
Yeah.
But hey,
just one more person to tell you to go fucking vote.
As if there's not already a chorus out there telling you to go vote. But yeah, it's kind of important. So please do that for us, and for yourself, and for the fucking country, and probably the world.
please save us.
Yeah. No, Biden and Harris aren't great, but it's better than fascism.
Yeah, yes, sir. Well, goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas. Happy Halloween. Have a good day.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Goodbye.